Hi, everybody. So, welcome back. Today, we wanted to talk a little bit about forgiveness of yourself and then forgiving others that have harmed you or hurt your feelings or done even physical harm to you or whatever, in your life, verbal, but the importance of forgiveness. And I've had, I think, over the past week, several conversations with people where this has been a thing, where they aren't forgiving people that have hurt them and holding on to that story, and not being able to move forward in their life because they aren't able to just to let things go. And I don't mean that in a very flip way, like you're supposed to let things go when people hurt you, but there's a thing where you can only be mad and hold grudges for so long. And there's going to be a point where it starts to harbor all on you, and you're not going to be able to move forward in your life. And I just thought it was important to talk about it because I know there's people out there struggling with that. I know that I have struggled with that as well. So my sister, Kara, she said that forgiveness starts with you. And I really like that because I think that we're always looking outward, instead of inward to make changes in our life. And I do feel that you're right about that.
And it's also like you want to, it's also like sort of understanding that you may not get a sorry.
Oh, from people that hurt you.
Right. Like you may not get, because it's also linked to closure.
Yeah.
So sometimes people think that they need closure, verbal closure from someone to move on, but you may not ever get it. And so you still have to be able to, move on from the situation. And I think there's a lot of ways you can do that without actually having the I'm sorry from someone.
Yeah, because what if you don't get it?
Right. Then what do you do? And I think that if you don't have that I'm sorry from someone, it can fester inside of you because you don't have anyone to take it out on anymore.
Yeah.
And then you start taking it out on other people,
and
it becomes a standard for the way you treat people.
Yeah. It holds you back in your life when you are, like I said, you become very repetitive in your behaviors, and you're always wanting a different outcome, but nothing happens because you're still stuck on, I'm mad at this person. The power of holding on to grudges is that you are in a mental prison and that you can't get out of. And, whatever your story is, some people have, it can be a mild situation. It can be all the way to a very traumatic something that's happened in your life where it's hard for you to forgive when someone has hurt or harmed you. In my own personal life, if you're not able to move forward from your story, that story is going to eat you alive. Your story is your story. That's your history, right? That's part of your history. But if you're not able to uplift yourself out of that in some way, it's really going to eat you alive. And so I just kind of want to say to people out there that if you're harboring any hard feelings from people in your past, to try to release that. Even if it's a horrific story, try to release that, try to get help with that.
There's two types of strength. There's physical strength and mental strength.
Oh, that's true.
And mental strength is just as hard. A lot of times maybe harder than physical strength.
Yeah.
And if someone hurts you and you don't know how to forgive them and you're still mad at them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the line, understand that they are still controlling you.
Right.
You don't ever have to see them again for them to have ruined your life just because you couldn't move on.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do this. There are people that things have happened to them 20 years ago and that still has changed the way they mentally think about themselves and their life around them, and your life really reflects it.
Yeah, it does. You can't,
because your mind goes in a loop.
Yeah.
If you can't break the wheel, the wheels won't move forward.
Yeah.
If you don't get out of your own way.
Yeah.
So, like I said, a lot of times there are people who will absolutely not give you an I'm sorry, even if they know they're wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you don't have to move on from that, then you will be stuck.
So I'm going to give a little bit of an example here. I was I think I mentioned this before, probably in the father video one, but I was in a relationship many years ago, and it was a pretty serious relationship, and I had a lot of resentment and what's the word? Grudge, I guess you can say, with my father, because I wasn't, I didn't know what happened. I had no clue what happened. It just wasn't there. That was a kind of a void there. Now, because of that, I was in a relationship with somebody who was a nice person. Nice person. I'm not a perfect person, but he was a nice person. And I was harboring some past feelings of not feeling loved. So I didn't love this person correctly. It's all because I didn't forgive the person who, which would be in this case my father at the time. So it wasn't until, like you said, you were telling me before, that I didn't treat him so well because I wasn't being.
I mean, you didn't treat him well because, and you may not even know it at the time, but you didn't treat him so well because you felt some sort of control. Maybe how your mom was maybe treated. And so, it's like, so
I felt the need to over control. Right. Yeah, I was over controlling, I think, and of course that will blow up in anybody's face. I don't care who you are. If you're over controlling or if you're not being real, then that's gonna blow up in your face. But that was the case. That is my truth, and but it really wasn't until I got closure, as we said in our video about our father, that when I got closure and stuff, it really lightened my mood. I feel like with men in my relationships,
right?
It just made it all that much more easy, just being able to release. Although our father wasn't there, that's not the end of the world. We all still live, we all still move forward, but being able to forgive him was like, it was like it opened a lot of like my doors, like mentally, where I felt now connected to men in a different way, in a better way. And so I
because it's also linked to like your, I mean, I don't know if but it was like linked to your like being submissive.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? And so I always think, I don't know if you feel this way, but do you think that relationship came upon you to show you that? Like, I feel like, I always feel like that. Like, some relationships are brought into your life to show you a little bit of yourself.
I think I was less submissive. I think that was the problem, is that I was more aggressive.
Right. No, I'm saying, did it show you that you could be now?
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, okay.
That relationship.
Yeah, because that's what you're saying. Okay. Yeah, it did actually. Now that you're saying that, like I felt like, well, now because my mood was lightened. Right. My mood was now lightened when it came to men and relationships, that now I was like, okay, well, I can kind of just let go a bit and move forward. And that's the power of, that's why we want to do this, because it's the power of being able to move forward and forgive somebody. Just remember, this is not about forgiving and forgetting what they've done to you. Right. And that's the biggest, like, I feel like misconception with this whole forgiveness thing, is that people think, oh, well, this person hurt me, and you're just telling me forget about all the stuff that they did. No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying release them from your mind, having that chokehold on you in your mind. That's what it's about, because it will be 40 years later, y'all's cases, where you're still talking about the same thing. You're still doing the same thing. And you're still bitter, you're getting worse. You're going to be getting worse. Then you get lonely.
And the longer you hold on to resentment, it becomes part of your subconscious.
Yeah.
So it means it becomes a part of you.
Yeah.
So then that's what they say is better to forgive quicker. Because if you let it last years and years, it becomes a part of you. Yeah. It becomes a part of how you think, how you really think. Right. And it takes a lot of therapy. That's why people go to therapy for so many years, because sometimes you got to relearn and unlearn. Yeah. And you do that through learning lessons, but a lot of times our own stubbornness, because we're so mad, will keep us stuck in I'm right.
What about the people who are not into therapy?
And I think that everybody doesn't need to go to therapy. That's how I feel. Everybody doesn't need to go to therapy, but I do think that a lot of people do and they don't. You know what I mean? But I do think that it depends on the person. Yeah, no, it really depends on the person. If you actually understood what happened to you, and you can say I'm forgiven. Yeah, you know what I mean? But there are a lot of people where they're mentally already hurt, and then if other things start to hurt them, they become victim. Yeah. And when you become a victim, really are. That is just really a part of how you think, and you start to attract other people and things and situations that make you a victim, because in your mind you have to be right. Yeah. And that's why a lot of people have to go to therapy to unlearn. And because what you really think, and what you really, even if you say good things, don't really mean you believe it. Yeah, it's true. You know what I mean? Yeah. It don't really mean you believe it. It just means you're just saying it. You know what I mean? So it basically
stop me from love.
Yeah.
You know, just that simple act of forgiveness is like it stop or not forgiving stop me from love. And I don't know, I just feel like 'cause I don't want it to, you know, expose the person I was talking to. I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that. But the situation, this person has been harboring a lot of resentment, grudges from a past situation that was not great at all. As a matter of fact, it was pretty horrific and not deserving, and it was bad. And so this person is continuously telling the same story over and over again, and I just think that it's time to, you know, get help and move forward. So like if you're with some, okay, so if you're having like issues and the person just keeps coming to their, like you ever seen people who come to their friends repeatedly?
Too much.
We were just on this earlier, who come to their friends or family members too much to the point where they can't help them.
Right.
Well, this I'm telling you, I was trying to tell this person that she's gonna have to forgive the person of her past that hurt her in order for her to move forward in life, and then she's not wanting to move forward from her story. So then what do you do then? Like,
well, your friends are not therapists.
Yeah, they're not.
You know what I mean? They're there for you when you need help. If you really need help, your friends are supposed to, that's what friends are for.
Yeah.
That's what family members are for. But your friends are not in charge of your happiness.
Right.
So telling a story over and over and over again until it's, you know, beating a dead horse basically over and over again isn't helping you, because you're just talking about something that you're not fixing.
Yeah. And I'm not.
And your friends then then eventually your friends are going to be annoyed.
Yeah.
And then what's going to happen is they're going to have to give you tough love.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be mad at them.
Yeah. And then
see, I mean, so you can't be a victim. You have to take accountability, and the only way you can do that is if you forgive what happened. Because forgiveness is just saying it's just saying that the past could never be different.
Yeah, that's what
that's all it is. It's not, you're not saying that the person that did anything wrong to you was right.
Yeah.
What you're saying is that the past just could never be different,
So
and I can't change that at all. You know what I mean? And because I can't change that, I have to now switch gears and make that into this is a life lesson.
Yeah.
That's something that I'm going to have to you know, something I'm going to have to accept that happened, and then I move on.
So, okay, so there's a point where your friends and family, like I feel like your friends and family just can't help anymore, and that's where you have to go get yourself help. Because I can't relate. Don't you feel? I feel like when people go through stuff, you should talk to people who have been through that same. Do you think? I mean, or a therapist, a professional one. Or like a group situation where it's a group where people have gone through that same thing. But when you're talking to somebody, like I couldn't help this person because I had not been through what this person had been through. So I could be a listening ear and am a listening ear for that. But I wasn't able to help. And it's like to the point where I don't know what else I can give. You know what I mean?
And you can't give.
And I'm telling this person that you're gonna have to forgive.
Right.
You have to forgive the person who harmed you in your past. As hard as it is, and this person was a victim of something, as hard as it is, you do have to forgive that person. This is what I'm trying to express, is that you have to forgive the person, but it because I haven't been through it, this person wasn't on board with that. They were like, no, they did this, they did that, and they just can't get past it. They can't get past it, and I don't know, like.
And that's why after a while,
I hope I'm making sense. I know I'm saying a bunch of.
But I'm saying, after a while, this is why you have to cut people off. Because after a while, then you will be the next person they're mad at. Yeah. Because you weren't able to heal them.
Which is kind of what's happened.
And sitting around talking about the same thing over again isn't helping the person, and it's just going to start not annoying you, because then you start to feel like, do I have a friend or am I a counselor? Yeah. Which one am I? Am I more of your friend, or are you just my friend because I listen to you all the time? Right. And because a real friend will tell you, get up. Yeah. Stand up. Stop. Because I'm not a real friend and can give you tough love. Acquaintances at times will just agree with you, just because they don't care enough about you to tell you to go and do something else.
Like, I'm a compassionate person, you know, just by nature. I mean, I think most people can be. I'm sure there's people that aren't. But so if someone tells me a story of their past and it's fresh, they just told me this past week or a month or whatever, I'm giving you all kinds of compassion, and I'm there and all that, you know, sympathy, you know, and just compassion with the person. But when you hear the same story over and over again, the same situation over and over and over again, and this person's never getting any help, it becomes like, I don't know, like I need to take a step back now. Yeah. It's important for me now, for my mental health. Now it's my mental health. Now we're talking about me. To take a step back, I just, you know, I don't know, if you're not getting help for your problems and you're unable to look at your past situation and say, you know, I have to release this. You know, I think you'll be more freed. I feel like I'm babbling. Like, I don't know, y'all told me, I feel like I'm babbling. I'm not making a whole lot of sense, but it's just, I think this is what I'm trying to say is, you know,
interesting. I mean,
you have to be able to move forward. And if you are in a place right now where you can't move forward from somebody from your past, you must get help. And the help doesn't always come in the form of your friends and family. There's not a whole lot that we can do all the time. There's stuff I can do, I have done, but all the time. So I don't know. I just,
you know, I mean, okay. So many moons ago, when I was in my 20s, my early 20s, I went out on a date with a guy, and the guy ended up attacking me. So I got raped. That was what it was. Okay. And so for a long time, I was really hurt by that. You know what I mean? Because I was afraid. I was young, and you know, I think I was naive.
Right.
Also,
yeah.
You know, I was just really naive, and for a long time, I was afraid of men because I thought that being alone with them, because I thought that meant that anything could happen, and I don't have any help, and I can't fight it. I mean, this guy was a very big guy. He was well over. I'm only 5'2", so he was well over. He's a football player. Guy, and he was well over 6'4". He was, you know, a very big guy, so he's a lot bigger than me.
Right.
And literally, there was nothing that I could do. And for a long time, I got really sad about that, and I didn't know how to really deal with those feelings. And
so you're a victim of something,
right? You know, I mean, a victim of, you know, a sexual crime.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I blame myself. It's weird because when you're in a position like that where you're either molested or you're raped, you are a victim, and then you're also, you in a weird sort of messed up way, you feel like it's your fault.
I'm glad you're discussing this. Like, I'm 100% glad, because I'm so glad. It's really brave of you to do that too, because it's very brave. I knew this about Kara. I knew this happened to her, but this is a very brave thing to talk about. But it's in correspondence to what I'm trying to say, is that there are people who've been victims of things, and you know, you're able to talk about your experience as a victim.
Well, I mean, I did tell someone besides you what happened, and that person, it was a close person to me, you know, didn't care. It didn't have a caring feeling about it. But what that taught me, though, in that moment is this is something I'm going to have to get through. And that everybody it's not really even that person's responsibility. Yeah. Okay. It would have been nice. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? But everybody is not going to help you. And there are things in life that, even if we have friends, or I have my sister, you know what I mean? Even if we have friends, there are just things in our life that we have to handle on our own. Because even we have to have strength inside to forgive. And I had to forgive this man, not because of what he did was right, because it wasn't. He was wrong. He was absolutely wrong. But because I didn't want him to be my whole life. I didn't want him to be my story for the rest of my life. You know, I'm a woman that really thrives on not being a victim. I hate being a victim. I hate that feeling of anything. And if I'm scared of something, I usually face it. just because I'm really scared.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so anytime I'm really, really afraid of something, I just really, really face it. You know what I mean? Because that is the only way to face fear, is to face it head on and to just deal with it. And with him, I'd had to forgive him, not because, like I said, the past, what forgiveness is, is condoning. What it is saying that the past could ever be different. And it can be. It can be. I can never take that away. That happened. That will happen. You know what I mean? But what I can say is that he's not guaranteed to be the reason why I'm unhappy for many years later.
Yeah.
Right. He doesn't have that kind of control over me. You know what I mean? And I had to move on. And I think that telling this person my trauma and them not responding the way I wanted them to respond showed me that I'm going to have to find, in life, you're going to have to have strength of your own.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And your friends can't always pat you on the back and here. So you can either go to therapy, which I did not, but it wasn't for me. But or you just have to be on a level where you could say, this happened to me. Yeah. And me telling you this could probably help someone. So I've never really talked about this story except for to like Danielle. Yeah. And you know.
And even me being her sister, I really couldn't. When this happened, I don't have the tools. Right. I did not have the tools to know how to help her. I didn't, and or to mentally help. You know what I mean? How to help her. I can do all kinds of other stuff, but I couldn't mentally help her because I had not personally been through that. So.
And I always say this, if I can, not then, but now, I could probably say that was maybe a way for the universe to show me how to forgive people on a higher level. You know what I mean? It takes it's a very evolved moment in your life to be able to forgive someone who forcibly, physically takes over you. You know what I mean? Because you don't deserve it. And it wasn't right. And it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault. I didn't do anything.
It's in the same realm like molestation.
It's like molestation. It wasn't your fault. But on some level, if you never forget someone who put you in a victimized state, they then control you and they're not even around you. And they will control you forever. If you allow them to do that.
So you kind of felt like at the time before you realized that you have to find a way to forgive this person. Like you felt like it was taking over you. Like your days, it was taking over you.
Yeah, it was taking over. It was just taking over the way that I felt about men. Like again, I already didn't have a father. That's one slap with men. Now I've got this other man I had a boyfriend for 5 years who mistreated me all the time, and I kept going back. And now I have a guy who's raped me. You know what I mean? And so if I didn't forgive these men that came into my life and hurt me, then I wouldn't feel like I feel about men 10 years ago. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
because you have a very healthy thought process when it comes to men.
Oh no, I love men. Like, it's not. Yeah, I do. I love men, but it took me
for what she's been through. Right. I mean, I think,
but that all comes with like accountability. Yeah. Because you have to then be accountable for your own happiness. No one can make you happy. No one can, and you can't make anyone happy. I don't care what anybody says.
No one can fix your problems.
Say, well, I met this girl and she made me happy. No, she didn't. She was a part of your happiness. But if she's making you happy, then that's a red flag. Yeah. Because you should never be all of someone's happiness. None of that. You know what I mean? But it's all linked together. Accountability is just linked together with forgiveness, and because if you don't do that, then you get all these lower vibrating feelings like resentment and anger and frustration, and then you take it out on everybody. You know what I mean? Because you think you have the right. Yeah. Because something happened to you. Yeah. And you don't. You don't have the right to treat people bad because something happened to you. Yeah. We all go through horrible things. At some point, all of us are going to go through things where we have to forgive someone. And forgiveness begins with you. That's where it starts. It begins with you. And it's all karmic. Yeah. Because if you think that you are the only person that deserves to be forgiven, but you can't forgive anyone else, that's a problem. That's arrogance. Right. Yeah, and it's arrogance, and it shows a lot about how you see the world and how the world sees you. There are a lot of bitter people walking around here who are mostly just hurt. Yeah, who are
holding on to their story so strong and have now become,
because victimization works for people after a while. Yeah, it becomes your reason for why you are the way you are. Why I'm not successful because of this thing happened. I'm not married because of this thing happened. I'm not, so sometimes people love to be a victim. I know that sounds crazy. It's like when people say, there are people who love being homeless, but there are people who love being in places where they're miserable because it gives them an excuse of why they didn't get to accomplish.
And they still get the blame.
And they still get the blame and get to deflect. It's not about me anymore. It's about them. It's all happened, them. And the older you get, the more set in your ways you get, the more it becomes a part of your subconscious, and the more you just become a very bitter, angry person nobody wants to be around.
Yeah.
It doesn't serve you, to stay in one place and be miserable for the rest of your life. Your higher self, your godly self, is what's right.
Yeah.
That's where you're most happy. That's why when people daydream, they're happy. When people, when they, think about where they want to be, they're happy. But when you are afraid and you're fighting against this world, this worldly self, that's when you kind of get off balance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just you fighting against you.
Yeah.
But you think you're not. You think you're fighting against what happened to you, but you're not.
Yeah. It's true.
And only person, and then meanwhile, people who hurt you have moved on. And they've gotten married, and they've had kids. You know why? Because they forgave themselves. And they have the right to do that, by the way.
Yeah, they do, and that seems unfair to people who are playing victim.
Right.
And that's not meaning to sound harsh, but this is why I'm so happy you told this story about you and your rape, because you're not. Like, I know you, obviously, you're not someone who sticks to that story. That situation that happened to you, that horrific situation that happened to you, has not become a story attached to your life. Yeah. But I feel that had you not been able to forgive this person, again, I have never been through that, but I'm just learning from you. Had you not been able to forgive that person, you would still be telling that story today. You would still... it would just be a repeated story, and it would be grabbing a hold of you, be a mad person, and you're not. You're really nice, open, human, individual, and it's true. So I feel like you're such a good example of when someone has harmed you in your past, you have to start making steps. If that's happened right now, someone in your life right now has harmed you in your past, I really challenge you to take steps to move forward and get through that, whether it be through therapy or whatever it is, to get through that, because you don't want that story to just grab a hold of your life and then you never do anything at all, never fall in love. You never have real relationships with anybody,
or you become bitter towards other people being happy.
Yeah, and that happens a lot.
You see people out here that are successful, and then you become like a hater.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Or you see someone getting
that's
married,
what haters are.
You become a hater.
That's a really good point. That's what haters are.
You really waste a lot of time on anger, and and that's what I'm saying. Forgiveness really is just moving on and just saying, this happened to me. It was a sad event. Yeah, but it honestly is not going to take over my entire life, and I want to have a life. Yeah, and
you do because you're not letting that.
Because if you're walking around unhappy, and you're depressed all the time, you're really the walking dead. Because you have nothing to give to the world except for unhappiness, and nobody wants to be around miserable people except for miserable people. Yeah, that's it. Your life is not just about having a heartbeat and a pulse. Yeah, it's about how you look and live in life. Yeah. You can let anything happen. Like I lost everything. I lost everything. You know what I mean? And I had to start all over again. And if I just stayed in that place, I would never be able to see happiness. And that's the point of living. That's the whole point of living, is to have good experiences. We learn from our bad experiences. Our bad experiences have a place in our life. They're there for a reason, but they're not there to keep us there. They're there to show us, that we can overcome things. And
I think about a lot about our story, that little piece of our story and a lot of people are like, oh, you guys, you never told us that you were, that you lost everything. This all happened to you. We are one of our first videos, we talked about it. But the reason why we don't harbor on becoming homeless or at the time broke and all that happens, because it's part of our story. It's a story that should be told, because I believe that when you share your testimony, it can help others. So I do believe that. But we don't go around feeling sorry for ourselves.
Losing all of my money is the reason why I have it. Yeah, now and it taught me a big lesson.
That's why we're doing well financially now. Right. The only reason why we're doing well financially now is because
I learned a lot.
We learned a lot from our story, and we forgave ourselves for
for mistakes.
From our mistakes. We made humongous
I'm not blaming
mistakes.
anybody for the reason why I lost everything. I lost everything because I was bad with money, and now I'm
That's
better
the
with
truth.
money, and now I have money. See how those things work? It just when you change the way you think and when you change the way you think, then everything around you begins to change. Like you are responsible for your happiness. Forgiveness is part of that.
If you screw up, you have to forgive. Now that's another part of it, though. If you messed up something in your life, then you weren't victimized. You victimized yourself. Something happened where you messed up something in your life. You do need, in order for you to move forward and have a flourishing life and get the things that you want, you have to forgive yourself for those mistakes.
Yeah.
So you can move forward. You can't keep beating yourself up.
Yeah.
For the big, like we were just talking about with our situation where we lost everything and in our mid 30s, going into our 40s where we literally had nothing. We just had to start all over again, homeless, the whole thing. But I was so sad when that first happened. I was so beating myself up for the first couple of years. Like I was really mad at myself, and I just could not just say, Danielle, you messed up, you screwed up royally, and you have to rebuild your life now. But you're not gonna get nowhere if you keep getting mad at yourself. So it wasn't until I just said, okay, I made a mistake. I made a huge mistake, but it's a mistake. And that's when I was able to move forward and do better with my life, and so just been better. So forgiving yourself is humongous. It's just as huge as forgiving a person that's hurt you. Yeah, just based off of conversations I've had over the past week, it was really heavy on my mind and heart to talk about just the power of forgiveness. So if you are going through something, if you're somebody who is just harboring a lot of bad thoughts, resentment, whatever it is for someone who has victimized you in the past or is doing that now, I just encourage you, I am not a professional at this, but I just know human nature says your life is going to look different in a great way if you are able to move forward from that and do what you can to get the help that you need, from that. Yeah, so we just want to put that out there, you guys. Caribou, thank you for telling your story, because I know that's really hard. I know you probably helped about 1 million people out there that have been victimized and, in that way. And so thank you for telling that story.
My pleasure.
So silly. But anyway, so we are, guys, it's happened now. We're at 50 subscribers. Now, again, okay, I know, ever since okay, so I know that does not sound a lot to a lot of people, right? 50 to most of the world in this day and age sounds like, what are these girls getting excited about? I'm going to tell you what we're getting excited about, because it was 7. We were at 7. It was 7 subscribers. So anyways, we have 50 subscribers now. Yay!
51.
Oh, 51 subscribers. Yeah. I'm sorry. And I appreciate that. I appreciate all 51 subscribers. Hopefully we can get more, and just join in some, just some intellectual conversation. So, but thank you guys. Yay, 50. So subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. We also have a page on Facebook. I'm not sure if anybody of you guys are on Facebook here on YouTube, but it's also called Convos with Kara and Danielle. Same all the way through. So, subscribe and like. And they always say, hit the bell.
Yeah, hit the bell.
The bell's what helps people get
the notifications.
Oh, the notifications. See, this is what we knew at this whole thing. I didn't know. Okay, so the bell gives you the notifications. Because hit the bell, like, subscribe, and join us again next week, next Tuesday, for another video. Thank you guys. Bye.